Welcome to the examiner session. This time we're going to concentrate on overcoming errors for the English assessments. For English Level 1 and 2, there are external assessments for the reading and writing components. In these assessments we find that many learners have the underpinning skills to achieve. However, they lose crucial marks, making repeated mistakes throughout the assessment paper. All papers are marked by human examiners, and they've come together to identify the common failings that learners make during assessments. By identifying these errors with your learners, you can help them to eradicate and remove them from the final exam. Those crucial marks can make the difference between achieving and not achieving. As well as these video modules, you can also read the Chief Examiner reports, which are released in January and August. These reports are available on the NCFE website. For the writing assessment, you will be given a variety of writing tasks to complete in order to achieve. Learners often lose easy marks due to formatting errors, so we're going to go through what examiners are looking for. For the writing task, there are 40 marks up for grabs over the two tasks, so it's important not to lose too many silly marks. For the formal letter template, to gain full structure marks, learners should include the following. There should be 2 addresses, a date, a complimentary salutation, a formal close. If they are given the name of the person to write to, it should be accurately spelled, and the close should be yours sincerely. If they don't know the name, then a formal letter is addressed to Dear Sir or Madam and signed off with yours faithfully. We expect all answers to be appropriately paragraphed with an introduction, conclusion where appropriate. Learners should not write their own name above their address. They should take care that the salutation and close match and are appropriate to the task. All written documents should be paragraphed with an introduction and conclusion where appropriate. Articles and reports should have titles and subtitles, which is something Level 1 learners struggle to structure and format. So when creating an article or report, you should follow this pattern. Work with your learners on writing articles. Set them tasks to create an article around something work related and create templates on how articles should be laid out so that they are familiar with the expectations ahead of the final assessment. For emails, a lot of learners don't complete the addressee or subject header and lose easy marks. For informal emails, the tone of the email should be more relaxed. For example, we would not expect them to open with Dear Mrs. Smith. However, for a more formal email, it is important to be appropriate. We would not expect them to open with Hi Mate, for example. For both types of emails, there should be a greeting and a close. We are now going to show you how marks are broken down for each level in English writing assessment. It is crucial you work with your learners so they identify how to achieve maximum marks in each section. So for Level 1, you are required to write clearly and coherently, including an appropriate level of detail. Present information in a logical sequence. Use language, format and structure suitably for purpose and for audience. Use correct grammar, including correct and consistent use of tense. Ensure written work includes generally accurate spelling and that meaning is clear. Ensure written work includes generally accurate punctuation and that meaning is clear. For Level 2, you need to present information, ideas concisely, logically and persuasively. Present information in complex subjects clearly and concisely. Use an appropriate writing style fit for purpose. Use a range of sentence structures, including complex sentences and paragraphs, to organise written communication effectively. Punctuate written text using commas, apostrophes and inverted commas accurately. Ensure written work is fit for purpose and audience with accurate spelling and grammar that support clear meaning. There is a need to ensure that learners understand how many marks are allocated to the structure and layout of their work. Just writing lots of information with no structure is not going to allow them to achieve. They need to showcase the full set of skills included in the coverage and range. Here's an example of how to write an article or a guide. When writing formal letters, it should look something like this. Remember, If you are putting learners through online assessment, allow them to access the system before they sit their assessment. We have sample papers online and also have video tutorials which talk the learners through the system. For reading assessment, learners need to be able to identify key features and purpose of text. There are 30 marks to begin over papers, with 2 source documents at level 1 to be read and 3 source documents at level 2. We are going to go through a few common errors now and how to overcome these. The last section of level 2 reading paper usually asks learners to answer a question by comparing and contrasting all the documents they have read. This section is worth 3 or 4 marks. For borderline learners in particular, this is often the difference between a pass or a fail. Some learners tend to simply write about one of the documents or the last document they have read and explain its contents, without really addressing the question at all. This approach is unlikely to score any marks at all. For top marks in these sorts of questions, examiners are looking for a well-considered and justifiable answer, supported with 2 or more reasons, explanations that are detailed and from all the source documents, answers that compare both language and content. Presentation features often cause problems for learners in reading assessments. For example, the question may ask identify 2 features of layout used in the document. The type of responses examiners are looking for would be use of colour and change of font size for headings and or subheadings, use of photographs or illustrations. The document is separated into a section with subheadings. Often learners think that paragraphs are presentation features. This is not the case. It is also important to stress that they have to pick the features out of the document given to them. It is not asking for what they would normally do in a document. There could be up to 6 marks available throughout a paper for this type of question. Learners also struggle to identify the main point of a piece of text. They need to identify the purpose of the text. The examiner is not looking for an overview or a comment on the text that focuses on content. Answers should be limited to the purpose. For example, a news article purpose could be to inform on X, but also persuade on Y. A self-help book would be to advise on Z. A letter offering the latest mobile phone would be to persuade. A music review would be to analyse, inform and advise. A fictional book would be to entertain, while a historical book may be to entertain and inform. Key words to look for are to inform, to persuade, to argue, to describe and to advise. The answer should be more than 2 words. It should explain. The learner will also need to recognise who the document has been written for. Learners need to know the difference between fact and opinion. Learners need to work with practice materials that require them to read comprehensive questions with care. This requires a detailed response to the source document and enables them to interpret text, especially understanding inference or using context. Learners would benefit from practicing questions based on the use of language, use of text features and understand the style of text. You can practice with them by using books that identify facts, for example Guinness Books of Records, or using articles from newspapers where a writer is expressing an opinion. They will be expected to not only give an answer, but to support that answer. An easy way to do this is to use an example from the text in the source document. The learner needs to show the method and the quotation mark to get full marks. It may sound obvious, but learners need to read the question carefully. So many learners misread questions and lose marks because they have misunderstood what it is asking from them. Encourage them to use a dictionary if they do not understand what a word means, or to look up keywords. They also need to look at how many marks are available for a question. If there is 1 mark, the examiner is looking for a quick single answer. If there are 2 marks, the examiner is either looking for 2 answers or some supporting evidence to the original answer. Encourage the learner to pick up on what document the question is referring to. If the question says document 1, then use that document. or if it relates to two documents, then use both. You would be surprised at how many learners make mistakes on this.